What's going on, everybody? My name is John Serwin, and this is my kitchen. Welcome. Today, I'm going to show you how I made this homemade Swedish meatballs with cranberry sauce and roasted broccoli. It's kind of like a mixture between a bratwurst and a meatloaf. I mean, if that doesn't sound good, I don't know what to tell you. But I'm going to show you the techniques and how to do it coming up. Stay tuned. All right, for the Swedish meatballs, we are going to make what is known as a panade. It is basically bread, some sort of milk, egg mixture that you combine with the meat to keep it super moist. This is going to be a very wet panade, and I'll tell you why as we continue this on. I'm going to need 200 grams of bread. So I'm just going to use some old French rolls that I've had laying around. I'm going to cut this up. All right, got that all. Gonna throw this into my bowl. Sure, that's about 200 because I'm not gonna scrape up the rest of that. What we're gonna add to it is 200 grams of buttermilk, and then 1 large egg. And I'm gonna mix this up with my hands and make this into like a slurry. All right, we're gonna let that absorb and let this sit for at least a half hour before we start adding our meat and everything else. In order to make some mashed potatoes for our Swedish meatballs, that's what we're gonna be serving them on. We're gonna do a nice bed of mashed potatoes, meatballs, sauce right on top. What we're gonna do is just take 4 decent sized russet potatoes, use Yukon Gold, russet, red potatoes. My personal preference is Yukon Gold, but right now I have russet. So I'm gonna go 4 russet potatoes, just peel them up. Now that we have the 4 potatoes peeled, rinsed, patted dry a little bit, I am just going to go ahead and cut them in half. A little sticky there. And then just get them into about equal sizes. I don't know, 1/4 inch chunks, about 1 inch. Just so they, and then I'm going to put them into a pot over here, cover them with cold water, get them on the stove, and get them ready for a little bit of boilage. There you go. Gonna get some cold water on these bad boys and get them on the stove top. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get those potatoes started right here. We're just gonna bring them up to a boil, really more of like a simmer, and just until they are fork tender. So maybe 10-15 minutes. It's looking like our potatoes are pretty close to being, oh yeah, they're feeling good. Let me get one over here. Oh, yep, falling apart. All right, we're gonna turn them off, drain them. Gonna keep it super simple. Do a nice big heavy hand of salt. Gonna do a half a stick of butter, and we're gonna kind of keep them, we're not gonna get them super creamy. I want just a little bit of texture because that meat is gonna be very homogeneous and creamy. So we're just gonna use a regular masher and just start mashing them up. A little bit of milk. Like I said, very simple. I don't want to call it basic, but it's just regular old mashed potato. Since we're in the United States and lingonberries are hard to come by, we're going to go ahead and use the next best substitute, cranberries. Apparently also, lingonberries are known as mountain cranberries. So we're going to throw in 16 ounces frozen cranberries. Unfortunately, right now, we aren't able to get fresh. If you can get fresh, I would definitely suggest getting fresh. In with the cranberries goes 125 grams of sugar. I like mine with a little bit of orange, so I do 100 grams of orange juice and then 100 grams of water. We're going to go ahead and bring this up to a boil. We are obtaining some full-on boilage. Just want them all to open up and kind of explode open. I believe we are successful. We're going to go ahead, turn this off, get this into a glass jar and into the fridge. Just going to grab 2 heads of broccoli, cut off some florets, like such. We're going to leave them kind of large like that. And just break this one up a little bit. All right, then all I'm going to do is take some avocado oil or olive oil. I'm just going to use avocado oil this time. Give a few glugs, as I like to call it. Probably about a total of 2 teaspoons. Then I'm going to go in with that salt, pepper, garlic mixture. Nice 2 heavy pinches. Then I'm going to go ahead with that just regular Parmesan cheese, not the Parmigiano Reggiano. Not going to get crazy and use that because we are going to be roasting this in the oven. One last thing I am going to do as well is throw in a little bit crushed red pepper. It's a nice little touch. For our Swedish meatballs, going to do a fine dice of yellow onions. I would either use yellow onions or white onions. What I have on hand today is yellow onions. So I'm just going to do a fine dice. I am going to leave the root end on, and I am going to take off that first layer of skin. And actually, this first layer of onion looks good this time. So I will just cut them all down into these half moons, as I like to call them. Then I just go around, follow the contour like you would be julienning it, but now you're going to give it a nice fine dice. So just like such. So I'm going to continue on this and get 150 grams, and then we are going to sweat them down in a frying pan. Over here at the stovetop, we're just going to grab a small little stainless steel pan this time, put it on medium heat, and we're just going to do about 2 teaspoons of butter, so maybe 10 grams of butter. I'm going to let that start foaming up. Then I will throw in the 150 grams of yellow onion that we will saute up. We're not going to get any color on there. We're just going to soften it. So I guess almost a sweat, but not exactly. We're only going to cook it for about 5 minutes. So in they go. And then we'll add it straight into our panade once we take them off the heat. Just going to put in a pinch of salt out of my sweet salt container. Just about a 2-finger pinch, maybe a little more. There we go. Go ahead, saute these up. Or I keep saying saute. Cook these down. Cook these down for a little while here, until they just start getting color on the edges. The onions have been cooking down for about the past 5 minutes, starting to get the slightest bit of color. We are going to pull them off the heat. Once they cool down a touch, we're going to add them to that panade. All right, there's our panade that has been sitting. And we're just going to go ahead and add our onions in. See how we're looking with this panade. I want it a little bit runny. And this is kind of fully hydrated now, so it looks pretty good to me. Well, rookie mistake. I apparently was not filming, but all right, in this bowl of panade, remember the panade was 200 grams of bread, 1 large egg, 200 grams of buttermilk, and 150 grams of lightly sweated or sauteed onions. To this, I added 1 pound of ground pork, about 80-20, 1 pound of ground beef, about 80-20. I also added 1 gram of ground allspice, 3 grams white pepper, 1 gram of microplaned, I just finished microplaning some nutmeg, and 1 gram of mace. That mace, white pepper, ground allspice, and nutmeg is a very classic bratwurst flavor. So this is going to taste kind of like a bratwurst and a meatloaf. It's the best of both worlds, in my opinion. Then over here, I measured out 18 grams of kosher salt. So I took, I don't know, probably a handful of grams. I want to pulverize this garlic in my mortar and pestle. So I just put some salt in there to give some more abrasion. So I'm going to go ahead and pulverize this up and add it to the meat. All right, there we have it. The garlic has been pulverized. I'm going to use a spatula, scrape this all off. This mortar and pestle is great. It's one of the best things for grinding spices, in my opinion. I have a coffee grinder. I don't have like a spice grinder, but this thing is fantastic. So take this, gonna take the garlic and salt, little mixture out of here, throw it into our Swedish meatball mix. And then when I clean this mortar and pestle, all I use is water. I just rinse it out with water. All right, and last but not least, the remainder of that salt is going in. Now, since I ran out of gloves, I won't be able to. I'm going old school. Going just clean hands. I am going to, you know what? First, I am going to preheat the oven to 500 degrees. All right, I'm going to mix these by hand and then start making about 2-ounce balls onto a silicone lined baking sheet. Let's go ahead and fold this all in, and we are going to incorporate that panade, that bread mixture, bread buttermilk mixture, egg mixture, will make this very juicy and keep its integrity. You can't really overmix this when you use a juicy panade. So I'm going to get in there and really start maneuvering it around. Mix it by hand like this for about, I don't know, 3 minutes or whatnot. I like making sausage quite a bit, so I kind of have a good feeling of what it should feel like. I don't want it exactly how emulsified I make sausage, but sausage I would usually do for about 5 minutes. This I'm going to do about 2-3 minutes and just kind of fold it now, just so it's fully mixed up. All right, this feels pretty good in my book. I'm gonna go ahead and give it one more big flip around and yeah, give my hands a quick wash and we'll get set up for making some meatballs. Now that I got my assembly line set, I am gonna go ahead and weigh out 2 ounces, 58 to 60 grams balls. 54. Man, almost got 58 on the very first one. I've done that before and it's pretty awesome, let me tell you. All right, 58. Just do a light maneuver around and plop down on our silicone pad. We're going to go ahead and continue on and make the rest of these up. And here we are with 24 meatballs. I am going to throw them into the oven for about 20 to 30 minutes on 500 degrees. The reason we are searing it in the oven is because we could sear these all at once, save stovetop space, make our sauce, make our mashed potatoes, and this will all sear in the oven beautifully. I'll show you progress because we're going to flip them once about 13 minutes in. All right, so into a 500 degree oven we go. And we will set a timer for 13 minutes. Go ahead and flip them in 13 minutes. For our gravy, we're going to grab a nice enameled, heavy bottom Dutch oven. We are going to turn this on to medium-high heat and get a stick of butter started to melt down. Once this butter is all melted down, I'm going to put in 100 grams of all-purpose flour. And we are going to cook this. We are starting the basis of a roux here. We're going to cook this for another about minute or two once this is all incorporated to get that raw flour taste out of there. Once you can start smelling a little bit of nuttiness in the air, we're going to come in with 150 grams, which is 3/4 of a cup of white wine. I'm using a Sauvignon Blanc. All right, looks good. Sauvignon Blanc, it's going to look like it seizes up, but we need to cook off that raw alcohol flavor because this roux is going to thicken it up real quickly, right? But we're going to give it another minute or two. It's going to almost look like dumplings here, which is fine. No need to freak out about it. We do want to cook off that raw alcohol. Once that's done, we're going to come in with our fortified beef stock. To bolster up our beef stock, we're going to add 1 whole box, which is 907 grams. And then in order to give it that like unctuous, long, slow flavored or long, slow simmered taste, we're going to put in 14 grams of beef gelatin. That's about 2 packets if you buy some unflavored gelatin. And we're going to do about 15 to 20 grams of better than bouillon paste. And we are going to just bring this up to a slight little simmer. I'm also going to put in just a splash of water to kind of bring this up to 1,000 grams total. Well, this is where it comes into play. Pour the whole thing in. We're going to go ahead and give it a mix around. It's going to look like it's clumpy right now, but eventually this roux will dissolve into it. I'm actually going to switch over to a whisk. All right, it's now been about 13 minutes. We're going to take a look at our meatballs. And I bet we have, oh yeah, we're going to have some nice color on the bottom. So we're just going to turn it so we can get some color everywhere else too, or at least on another side. So we could have multiple sides of some crust. This oven searing technique, once I learned this, I kind of never went back because you don't have to do it in batches. You could do it all at once. You don't have to worry about the pan, you know, the heat losing. And yeah, this just does, you can do, if your oven can fit a full sheet pan, you can do a full sheet pan of meatballs all at once, or any sort of searing. All right, back on in for another 15, 12 to 15 minutes. Coming up to a little bit of a boil, and see how it's no longer lumpy. Now that we've achieved a boil, I'm going to go ahead and put in 15 grams of Dijon mustard. You can always add a little more at the end if you want, but 15 is a good starting off point. We're to go in with 80 grams of Worcestershire sauce. And then to make this a proper cream gravy, we're going to go with 100 grams of heavy whipping cream. I'm going to turn this down to low now and let this simmer. I'm going to give it a good whisk and let it simmer. It's been about 25 minutes. We're going to go ahead and pull those meatballs. And while the meatballs are resting, I'm going to throw the broccoli in the oven. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that nice sear going on there. So broccoli will only take about 10 minutes in the oven. I just threw it onto a sheet tray and we're going to throw it on in. Here, let's see if you can see the all around, seared all around, and still very, very plump and juicy. All right, everybody in the pool. Look at all that delicious, delicious caramelization on the bottom of this pan. And this is why a silicone baking pad, because that is going to be very easy to clean up. If that was just on the pan, that would have sucked. This, so silicone or parchment paper, that'll make a world of difference for your cleanup. All right, we're going to get these all covered up and we're going to test for seasoning. We're going to actually turn this off now and let them just steep. All right, and there you have it, folks. There's Swedish meatballs. In Chicago, we do what we call Meatloaf Monday is tradition. Don't get me wrong, love me some meatloaf, but this is such a nice alternative. So let's give it a shot here. We're going to dive right in. Ooh, look at that cross section. That panade was able to keep it so juicy and flavorful. It tastes like I'm eating a meatloaf and a bratwurst. It's fantastic. It's fatty, it's delicious, it's stick to your ribs. It's perfect for this cold weather right now. I'm gonna throw a little mashed potato on there. Man, that's dangerous. Like, I could eat way too much of this. Now let's try that orange cranberry. Even being warm, that tartness, that sweetness, perfect addition to cut through all of this fattiness over here. And then, of course, just the roasted broccoli. It's simple, a touch spicy, but that broccoli roasted at a high temperature, a little bit of Parmesan cheese, a little bit of that chili flake on there to give it a little bit of spice. That just these are all like flavor combinations that are melding together beautifully. So yeah, give it a shot. Let me know what you think. Comment below, and appreciate you stopping by. And remember, you're just making food out of ingredients until you sit down and share them with the ones you love. Then it's a meal. All right, guys, I appreciate you coming by. Till next time.